So hi everybody and welcome to another session of Study in Europe. My name is Nduta Wambura and I'm not very new to this channel. So if you're listening to us on Facebook or on YouTube, please feel free to interact with us on the comment section. Let us know where are you listening us from and what would you like to know from this session. So the European Union in Kenya is definitely geared towards letting you know about the several opportunities that you can take advantage of in Europe, in the EU member states. And so if you're listening to this from Kenya, if you're looking to study abroad, if you're looking to study in any of the EU member states, please make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, the EU in Kenya YouTube channel, or if you're on Facebook, please, share this with someone who could benefit from it. If you know someone who is looking to study abroad, whether they want to do their PhDs, their masters, their undergraduate, let them know that this is the place to definitely stick around because we are going to be offering you quite a wealth of information so that you can be able to know what programs would be available for you. So today's session is going to be a very interesting one because we'll be talking about PhD in France. So how to finance your PhD in France. And so obviously, I know quite a number of you have been asking about these questions. And if you followed us on Twitter, we had a Twitter space where we talked about the different opportunities in each of the EU member states. So today's session, we are privileged to be joined by someone from Campus France. And maybe someone has never heard about Campus France. So if you are just listening to this for the first time, please interact with us on the comment section. Send us your questions, send us your comments. Really, we want to have a very interactive session with you and give you all the information and answer all the questions to the very, very, very best. Remember, this session is 100% only study in Europe. So let's get this started. And I want to introduce one person who has joined us, has taken her time off to speak about PhD financing in France. Her name is Clara. She's from Campus France, and Campus France is actually has a presence in Kenya, and you might not even have heard about this. So it's time to know about this. So without further ado, please help me to welcome Clara. I should really have some drum rolls, but Clara, how are you?
Thank you for your welcoming.
Yes.
Welcoming words.
Yes. How are you loving Nairobi? Just to ask you for a quick one.
I love it. It's been more than 1 year I'm here already. So yeah, I really love it. It's very
Absolutely.
nice.
Good to hear. The good weather, the good vibes, everything is
yeah, weather is not so good these days, but it's fine. We manage.
Good to hear. So tell us more about yourself, your name, what you do in Kenya with Campus France, what Campus France is all about. I know that's a mouthful, but if you can introduce yourself to us and let us get to know you.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Clara Galea. I'm the Campus France manager in Kenya. So basically Campus France first, it's the public agency all around the world in more than 150 countries. Right. And we promote international mobility to France, and we support the Kenyan students in Kenya who wants to go and do their studies in France. So basically from the simple idea of wanting to go to France, finding a program, all the application process, visa process, preparation for the departure, as well as when Kenyan students come back to Kenya, we help them also join the alumni network called African. So we really support the Kenyan students who want to do their study in France. And we promote as well, of course, the French higher education system. Yeah. So basically we have 100 Kenyan students each year who go to France and study. Yeah. So it's mainly masters and PhD students who go and study to public universities.
Wow. So that is very interesting.
So just one more information maybe. So our office is based at the Alliance Française in Nairobi. So our office Campus France is on the first floor, but you can also join us. We always respond on social media, on Instagram, WhatsApp. You can ask all your questions, Campus France Kenya.
Oh, wow. good to know. I mean, if anyone is listening to this and they never knew that, there's presence of Campus France right at the heart of Nairobi, because Alliance Française is right, at
In
the
CBD, yeah.
So good to know, good to know. And could you tell us more now about maybe the opportunities that are available for someone who is looking to study in France? And I know there's a lot that you guys offer, from PhDs to
Yeah.
masters to undergraduate. And our discussion is definitely going to be about PhDs today. But maybe you
Yeah.
can quickly just mention about some programs that you guys offer.
Yeah, sure. I think it's important to understand like broadly how the French system work.
Yeah.
So basically, what is important to know is that France is part of the European Union, as you all know. So we follow the same accreditation system for license, masters, and PhD. So
Okay.
basically, when you do your studies in France, your certificate is equivalent in all the European Union. So this is first, and we follow the same scheme,
Yes.
which is first license. So
Okay.
license is the equivalent of bachelor in Kenya.
Yeah.
It's not 4 years though, it's 3 years
Okay.
in France. So we have first the bachelor's license.
Yeah.
Then we have the masters, who are 2 years, which
Okay.
are 2 years, like in Kenya. The first year of the masters are usually very broad knowledge,
Okay.
generic. And
Yeah.
the second year, you can specialize either on research, when
Okay.
especially you want to follow after for a PhD, or you can also follow a path more professionalizing, where you'll do an internship of 6 months to graduate, and
Okay.
then you'll discover the world of work, etc., and then you can be hired. Yeah. So basically, this is bachelor, like masters, and then you have the PhD, which we'll talk about today,
Yes.
which can last from 3 up to 6 years.
Okay.
Even though it's very rare now to take 6 years to do a PhD, it's more 3 and 4 years,
Yeah.
and you can do that in public universities.
Okay.
And what makes the French higher education system more complex, maybe,
Yeah.
is the fact that we have public universities around 70
Okay.
only. Well, it's already something, but we have more than 3,000 private schools and private universities
Wow.
in every field, everything you can do in private schools. So of course the fees are higher, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that it's less good.
Yes.
Public university, on the other hand, have the same level and are very prestigious. And it's in public universities that you can do PhDs only.
Okay. Oh, wow. Perfect.
Yeah.
Good to know. So I didn't know there were 70, institutions that you can actually study all across France. So whether that's in Paris, whether that's in Bordeaux, in the south of France, where the weather is amazing, right? I guess
Better, yeah.
yes, well, for choice, honestly. And all this information is actually available on the Campus France website, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So if someone is interested, if you're listening to us and you're interested in studying your bachelor's or your master's, please head over to the Campus France website. Also your PhD, so which we're going to now delve into, financing your PhD in France. So
Yeah.
could you please tell us more? Why should someone even, first of all, think about studying a PhD in France? And then, how they can go about that, actually.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, one figure that is very important to know is that 40% of
Okay.
the PhD students in France
Yeah.
are not French.
Oh,
So 30% of PhD students are international students.
yeah.
So this is a huge number. It shows the attractivity and the openness of France
Yes.
towards international PhD students and researchers.
Okay.
In France, we have great infrastructures for research, great lab, well equipped in every field. Can
Okay.
be science, medicine, but also social sciences, humanities, etc. So
Okay.
this is very important to know. And yeah, France is the 8th country in the world when it comes to research and publication. We also do a lot of co-publication with English-speaking countries.
Right.
So yeah, basically when you go to France to study and a PhD, it's really like you'll be well accompanied, like, or supported, let's say.
Right. So it's all well-rounded. And I mean, it's good to mention at this juncture that the French government and the Kenyan government has, lots of cooperations going on in terms of education and different spheres as well. So if someone is studying there, then they have the opportunity to explore all these opportunities that would be available for them, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get right into the heart of this conversation. So a PhD in France. So everybody's like, okay, tell me more. Yeah.
So basically, doing a PhD in France, it means one thing, one basic that you have to maybe like know if you want to do that, is that you'll do a research project. Of course, you'll acquire knowledge, you'll acquire skills, but the main thing that you'll do is produce a research work. You'll do research. Because in some countries, doing a PhD is more about going to classes, acquiring knowledge and skills.
Yes.
In France, you do that, but mainly you are a research producer. You are involved in research work. Yeah. So this is really what's important to know. You'll write a thesis or you'll publish articles in scientific reviews. That's the heart of doing a PhD in France.
Okay.
So more concretely, maybe, how to go about it first, what you have to do first, right?
Exactly.
Because it can be a bit confusing, I guess.
Okay.
First, I mean, and that's logical, you have to do a research proposal.
Right.
Write yourself what you want to do as a research. Like, of course, it will be linked to what you studied in masters, what you did for your thesis in masters, but of course it will be more specific, but not so specific, because you need after that, the second step is to find a supervisor that will accept to supervise you in France.
Yeah.
So this supervisor will, of course, give you some advice to like maybe make your project, your research proposal evolve in one or the other way. And this supervisor will be part of a doctoral school in a public universities.
Yeah.
So every university has doctoral schools, and that's in doctoral schools only that you can do a PhD.
Yeah.
So, and the supervisors are part of this doctoral school. So if one agree to support you and like work with you along your PhD, his doctoral school, where he comes from or she comes from, will have to accept that you are a PhD student in this school.
Yes.
So this is a whole process. First, you have the research proposal. Then you find a supervisor who accepts to work with you.
Yes.
And then the doctoral school of this supervisor also have to accept you in the doctoral school. That's the 3 steps.
Wow. So, I mean, in other words, someone can do what we call, quote unquote, cold emailing. So, which means that you send your proposal to a potential supervisor, introduce yourself, let them know what you want to do, what is your research, expectations, and email. I mean, I think shooting your shot.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
And also what I want to say is that the French embassy is also here for that. Like we support, we will help you. If you come to us, you send us an email, I'll give you my contact afterwards. But you send us an email with your research proposal, we just go through it, see which field it is. We have a department specifically for university cooperation and research. So we are already in contact with potential supervisors and stuff. So we'll be so happy to help you find a supervisor in a doctoral school.
Wow. I mean, I didn't know this myself. So, I mean, that is something that I definitely would tell anyone to take advantage of, because I know the process of getting a PhD, especially in Europe, like sending all these emails to potential supervisors, finding a way whether there is some sort of funding and this kind of thing. So that is a very good point to know.
Yeah. And with the support of the French embassy, it may be better for the students. Yeah.
Okay.
Easy.
Good. So someone has written their proposal. They have come to you. You've checked their proposal. You've seen it's good enough. So what's the next step after that?
So then, what do you mean? Like when you when you're in France, or
no? So when you're in Kenya, so someone has written their proposal. They've checked in with you in your office, and they've said, "Hey, we want to do this in France. We want to study this type of field in France for a PhD. So the next step would definitely, if they get a supervisor or a lecturer who is interested in their research, then they would say yes to them. And from there, it's all about the funding and the process of going
Yeah.
there. Right.
Yeah. So basically, once you have a supervisor that the doctoral school is keen to have you in their doctoral school in France, then the question of the funding is central. I would say that now in the STEM areas, so the STEM areas is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and all the medical areas, the very like scientific fields. Now you have to get a funding
Yes.
to be able to work as a PhD student.
Okay.
If you are not funded,
Yes.
you cannot do.
Okay.
So this is mainly for the STEM areas, the scientific areas.
Yeah.
In some areas like social sciences and humanities, it's not always mandatory to have to be funded.
Okay.
However, it's getting more and more mandatory in many doctoral schools.
Okay.
So that's something you have to know.
Okay.
These funding opportunities, I will talk about it in details afterwards, but last on around 3 to 4 years. If you're not finished your PhD after 3 years, you can have an extra year if you have exceptional conditions. For instance, if you have kids, if you are sick, if something happened in your family or something like that, very personal reasons that you need 1 more year, it can happen. With COVID, for instance, it was also like okay to do 4 years. But more than 4 years, you're fired from the doctoral school. Now, they're really not keen to make it longer than 4 years anyway.
Right.
So that's something you have to know. You have to work towards finishing in 3 and maybe 4 years.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's quite the difference with the Kenyan education system. So, because most of the PhD candidates in Kenya take quite a long time. Some might even take 10 years to complete their education.
Yeah, no, forget that.
So that's a very good point to know. So if guys, you're listening to us and you want to do your PhD much, much faster, France is one of the countries that you can actually choose and finish and complete your education within 3 years to the maximum 4. If you take it so much, you'll be fired.
Yeah. No, it's too bad to get fired. Like you worked so hard until this point and then you're fired now.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's a good process to know. So can you tell us more about now the financing that is available for any Kenyan student who is listening to this and is looking to go and do their PhD in France?
Yeah, with pleasure. So basically there's 2 options. There's 2 main central options to have a funding to do a PhD in France. Yeah. The first one, and the easier one, I guess, is getting a scholarship.
Okay.
So like as every student, you get a scholarship, which means you don't pay the registration fees and you have a monthly stipend to help you do your scholarship.
Yes.
In the doctoral school, they ask now to have a stipend of 1,300 euros per month.
Okay.
So this is like the minimum you need to be living like properly in France, like rent, food, etc.
Right.
So this is the type of funding that you need. So there's 3 maybe options of scholarship that you can get. I would go into details in the first one, which is the scholarships from the French government that the French embassy gives.
Okay.
Which may be the most interesting for you who are hearing us today. So in the French embassy, we give scholarship. We have around 35 scholarships per year.
Oh, wow.
So it's not many, like some countries gives more than us, but this is what we have. And we're already like very happy to be able to give them. Yeah. We mainly give them in specific fields of studies, which are the STEM areas. So everything related to science, technology, engineering, mathematics, all these type of fields. But also we give them to students who are part of already existing cooperation programs between French and Kenyan universities.
Okay.
So this is the 2 like cases where we can give scholarships.
Okay.
We only give them to PhD and master students, and PhD students are very we prioritize them. So that's what we do. We have a specific tool in these scholarships, which is we do a sandwich scholarship.
Okay.
Sandwich scholarship means that basically you'll be registered in France, you'll have a supervisor in France.
Yes.
But you can go to France 3 to 6 months per year, and the rest of the time you're in Kenya and you can work on your PhD, but you can also do something else.
Okay. Okay. And just a quick one here. Of course, you mentioned about the French government, and maybe you have a cooperation between a Kenyan university as well as a French university. So, do you have any specific universities in Kenya which you constantly work with? For example, the University of Nairobi, the public university.
Yeah, of course. So we have the main cooperation that we have are in the University of Nairobi, Technical University of Kenya, Strathmore University. So these are the one in Nairobi mainly. But we also have with Moi University. We also have with Maseno University, with Masinde Muliro, JKUAT. I think that's the main ones. Maybe Pwani University as well in Kilifi.
Oh, wow. So which means that someone needs to be registered in any one of those universities in Kenya if they want to do some sort of, program in between or not?
So the cooperation usually already exists, and it's joint programs or capacity building or this kind of programs that already exist.
Yeah.
But to do a PhD in France, you don't need to be registered already in Kenya.
Okay.
However, there's something that we promote, and I think it's very good for the international students to do that all over the world, is to have a joint supervision in their PhD, which means they're registered in France, they have a French supervisor, but they also have a Kenyan supervisor.
Right.
So that they can go to France some months per year to access the labs, collect some data, see the French supervisor, discuss with them. But the other rest of the time when they're in Kenya, if they want to be in Kenya, they also have a Kenyan supervisor here. And it helps creating cooperation between the universities, even if it's not existing yet. It can be developed through this way, So this is a very good thing. Another option is to do a joint PhD where you're registered in Kenya and in France alternatively, and you have one supervisor in France and one supervisor in Kenya. And at the end, you have two diplomas, actually, two certificates.
Okay. So which means you graduate from both the Kenyan university and the French university. Wow, that is very good to know. And I guess this is information that is already available out there on the Campus France website. Guys, if you're listening to this and you're interested, definitely go and shoot your shot. You honestly have nothing to lose because applying for something is actually quite free. I believe that applying for this PhD is free. If you're listening to this and you still have some questions, please interact with us on the comment section. We are very, very much ready to answer your questions in a bit. We have quite a number of them already that came in. And I can see that the comment section is already blowing in. So now let's talk about the other type of funding that there may be. And I know we had this discussion with you before, and the European Union funding and everything. So maybe
exactly. So I talked about the scholarships financed by the French government, but there are also scholarships financed by foreign governments, such as Kenya.
Yeah.
So I know that some, like Kenya, the Kenyan government has some scholarship programs. So this you can check probably on the Ministry of Education website or something like that. The only thing that you may be careful about when you apply for scholarship by foreign governments is that the stipend is 1,300 euros. Because if it's too low, then the doctoral schools may not accept it as a funding. So this is the only thing. Otherwise, it's very if you can get a scholarship from the Kenyan government to go do your PhD in France, that's great.
Wow. And I mean, this information is a Ministry of Education website. Usually they post all these links that are available.
Yeah. And a third type of scholarship are the EU European Union funding scholarship. So for this, you can go to the Access website, which is a website specialized in research in Europe. And there you can find all the programs that can fund some scholarship in French institutions, but also in other institutions in Europe, of course.
Yeah.
So that's another possibility. Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys, and if you're listening to this, your access website, like Clara mentioned here, has lots of opportunities within the European member states. So that is something you can definitely check out and see, because some of the programs might even have a very interesting cooperation between universities, which means that you can go sort of like the Erasmus way, quote unquote, whereby you go to different countries to study your PhD, which is actually cool, right? And you can get to interact with the European culture, and just get to know more about France, more about Portugal,
Europe.
Europe. That's the thing. So, which means now, is there any other type of funding that someone can do?
Yeah. So the other big type of funding, which is quite Franco-specific, I think. I don't know. You'll tell me if it exists in Kenya, but I don't think. It's a doctoral contract.
Okay.
So basically, when you get a doctoral contract to work in a doctoral school to do your PhD, you are now a member of the staff of the university. You are not a student anymore.
Okay.
But you do your PhD as any other like PhD student, but you have a contract. So you'll have basically a salary. You'll be employed by the university to do your PhD there. So you'll have paid leaves, you'll have social insurance, you're a staff. You're not a student anymore.
Yes.
So this is a very good opportunity. So usually the salary is 1,400 euros per month.
Okay.
So it's not like, it can be seen as a lot, but it's not so much. But you have all the advantages of being a staff. So it's quite interesting, and it's quite difficult to get it. But if you get it, that's great. So basically, you can look. This type of doctoral contract are issued by 3 types of institutions: the universities itself, they can issue doctoral contract. Local authorities like the departments or the regions of France.
Right.
And also, and quite interestingly, private companies.
Oh, wow.
When they want you to look, to do your PhD in a certain field related to the activities of the company, then they issue doctoral contract where now you're part of the company and you're doing your PhD.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
to find them,
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, to find this doctoral contract, so you can go to the doctoral schools, which issue like the opportunities that there is for doctoral contract, and also the company, maybe the website of the company is the biggest ones, and it's not small companies who do that. But yeah, currently there's 3 only Kenyan students who are in France studying with doctoral contract. One is studying in multimedia networking.
Okay.
One is studying in messenger RNA.
Okay.
And the other one is studying in aerospace.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the 3.
And just to clarify here, if somebody is looking for that doctoral contract, would they be going to French websites to check on these contracts, or where do they go to check for this?
They go to the doctoral school's website, so the university website basically. I can send you after the list of the doctoral school. They all have websites where they post this kind of opportunities.
Okay. Oh, good to know. So one of the major questions that someone asked me is that, do I have to learn French before? Because they're like, okay, so the education system in France, okay, it's good, but then do I need to learn French beforehand, or what happens there?
So, of course, doing a PhD students in France really depends on the doctoral schools. The doctoral schools have their own policy.
Yeah.
You can do your PhD in English.
Okay.
So it really depends on the doctoral school, but most of them actually agrees for the international students for them to do it in English.
Yeah.
If you choose to do it in French, which is kind of very possible, you need a C1 level in French. So a quite good level of French. But it's definitely possible to do your PhD in English if you have an English speaking supervisor. Even if it's French, if he's speaking English, that's fine.
Okay.
That's that. However, if you go there and live in France, it's always good to speak at least the basics for the French. like of French. It's to just get around the city, ask like where to do your groceries at the pharmacy, whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
It's always good to master a little bit of French.
Okay. So would you recommend someone who's looking to study in France to maybe begin their courses at Alliance Française, perhaps, and just to get a feel of French and how to, get
For
by?
sure, for sure. That's the step to take. Even like all the Kenyan students who go each year, we always tell them
Yeah.
go to the Alliance Française. Now at Alliance, since COVID, and they didn't stop, and it's working very, very well, they do online classes. So you don't even have to go to the CBD
Okay.
because it can be like tricky, lot of traffic, etc. You can stay home
Okay.
and have your class on
Yeah.
your computer, and that's it.
Perfect. So good to know about that. So guys, if you're listening to this, please head over to the Alliance Française website. Why not learn a new language? Let me tell you, the language is definitely going to open you up into different opportunities. And even if in the future you would want to maybe possibly work in a francophone country within Africa or
Exactly.
even in France, why not?
Exactly. French is the third language speaking broadly in the world. So I mean, it's very, very interesting, even like within Africa. And if you want to work, for example, like our international organization, they always ask for other languages. So if you master French, it can be easier also. So
Yes, good to know. So, Clara, have we exhausted the financing opportunities for PhD yet, or there's still something else?
yes. So just one more thing within the doctoral contract. In the European Union, you can get a doctoral contract within the framework of a European cooperation projects, which are funded by the EU. So sometimes projects exist and they issue doctoral contract for PhD students to study in specific fields. So if it matches your interest, you can apply. And this, I guess, you'll see it on Eraccess or like other European Union websites. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Good to know. So, Clara, I just want to delve in now. I know we have just only a few minutes left with you. So, guys, if you're listening to this, you still have your question. We want to answer your question in the next few minutes. And I just want to go over one last thing that people have asked. So, you talked about the sandwich program, whereby somebody can be able to go to France and maybe study their PhD for a short period of time, and then maybe come back to Kenya and complete their PhD studies. So, how long is that sandwich program?
The length of the PhD.
Yeah. So, like for example, if somebody is coming for a sandwich, program, and maybe they're coming to France, can they come for 3 months, for 6 months, for 9
Exactly.
months?
So from 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
So yeah, basically from 3 to 6 months. But the rest of the time they're studying in Kenya. So it still can last up to 3 years, maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
But that's it after that. So they can
Okay.
go maybe 3 times to France, 3 or 4 times. And then they can go also, of course, for the defense.
Okay. All right. So, which means that they would have to graduate in both of the universities somehow, or how does
No,
that work?
if they're only registered in the French university,
Yeah.
they just have to defend there.
Okay. Okay.
It's only when it's a joint PhD that it's like in both. But actually, joint PhD, we only have one currently because it's quite complicated for like the coordination. What we promote really is more the co-supervision.
Yes.
When the student is only registered in France,
Okay.
but has a supervisor also in Kenya, but is not registered in Kenya.
Right.
So this is the easiest way to go about it, and to have at the end a French certificate for a PhD.
Okay. Perfect. Guys, if you're listening to this, again, this is free information that we're offering you. So why not look into it and see, whether this is something for you.
And I'd like to add one thing. As I said, in France, it's really a case per case. It's really you, your project, finding your own supervisor and your doctoral school. And each doctoral school has their own policies or way to teach. Some doctoral schools will give you more courses about methodology, some won't or less. Some doctoral schools will say that it's mandatory for you to attend scientific seminars. Some doctoral schools will tell you like to focus on the writing of your thesis.
Yes.
Some others will tell you you don't have to write a huge thesis, you can just write and publish articles in scientific reviews. So
Yeah.
this is very depending on the doctoral schools.
Right.
So really, if you have any questions on specific research projects, I'm very happy to organize after that, like interviews on one-on-one to really discuss your projects and see how we can help you do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, this also depends on whether you want to go into academia eventually or whether you want to go into research. Because again, for a scholarship or any type of, funding or any type of degree that you want to do out there, you also want to think about your future. Do you want to go into academia eventually? Do you want to go into research eventually? What exactly is it that you want to do with your life in the future? And how does that stem up into the university of your choice? And,
Exactly.
the course of study as well. So that's very, very good information to know. Now, let's talk about the biggest thing that people ask about visas. So,
Yeah.
and we spoke about this a little bit in behind the scenes, and I don't know what type of visa and what's the process like, and how does that go about?
Yeah. So basically, at the French embassy, like the politics of French towards this is that we really encourage PhD students to go to France and do their PhD in France, etc. So basically, if you have a good project, a good supervisor, a doctoral school, everything, you won't be blocked to get your visa. Like no one will like make any difficulties for you to get it. That's the
Yeah.
first point.
Okay.
According if you have a scholarship or if you're self-funded or if you have a doctoral contract, you won't get the same visa.
Okay.
So you'll have a student visa if you have a scholarship or you're self-funded.
Yeah.
So basically you'll have a long-term visa where you can go like to France for like maybe 3 years, and you'll be okay. You can travel around Schengen, like the Schengen space, etc. If you have a doctoral contract, you won't be a student, so you won't get a student visa, but you'll get a passport talent.
Okay.
Talent passport, basically. So it's really for researchers and PhD students who have a doctoral contract.
Okay.
So that's that. If you have a scholarship and even passport talent, you don't pay for the visa.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we really promote like this kind of mobility to France.
Yeah.
And to go about it, you'll go first through Campus France,
Okay.
when you'll have to register on the Études en France platform.
Okay.
You'll do an academic interview with me, so it's very easy. Like basically, we just want to make sure your project is coherent from the background, for your perspectives, your project, etc.
Yeah.
And we prepare also for the visa interview, and then you go and do the visa interview at the French embassy.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So which means that it's open. If you're interested in this, you don't have to fear about the visa process, because that is always something that people always ask about. And
One
so,
thing I just forgot to say is that, as I said earlier, sorry, is that so basically now you have more and more you have to get fundings for your PhD. In social sciences and humanities, sometimes they accept that you enroll in a PhD even if you don't have a funding. If you choose to do that, the registration fees at the university is only 380 euros. So it's around 40,000 Kenya shillings.
Yeah.
So comparing to other countries, and I think even Kenya, which is very expensive to register for a PhD, in France, if you're self-funded in social sciences and humanities, it's much cheaper. However, you have to prove that you have enough financial resources to be in France and study there.
Right. And this is what you mentioned, that you at least need to have 1,300 euros per month. Is it?
Exactly.
Okay. So, and this 1,300 pretty much covers your accommodation and living expenses, right? And, just to buy within France. And is this covered for all the, regions in France? Because I know there are some regions which are quite expensive, others are not so expensive. So I don't know whether this covers throughout.
So that's what we say to every Kenyan student who is interested in going to France.
Yeah.
Don't think only about Paris. Like Paris is great. I'm myself from Paris. This is amazing, but this is so expensive also.
Yeah.
Like the rents are twice as high as any other region in France.
Yeah.
So, and whenever you are in France, wherever you are in France, you can go to Paris for a weekend, you can go to Paris. Anyway, you'll visit Paris, but you don't need to live there. It's so expensive.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's
Okay.
Paris and then the rest of Paris.
Right,
So,
right. That's very true. I have personally been privileged to go to Paris a couple of times, and I know the expense rate. So, guys, if you want to see the Eiffel Tower, it's possible to do it in even living in another different,
exactly,
region.
yeah.
So, good to know. So, I guess now we are going to go right into the questions and answers because I can see quite a number of them already. And I will begin with one of them where one of the people asked, can I go directly to a PhD without studying a master's? So they, I believe, they have done the undergraduate degree, and they were asking whether it's possible to go straight into PhD, which I don't know. Yeah.
No, it's not possible. You need to have a degree, a master's degree, to be able to do your PhD.
Right.
And usually you do your master's, and during your master's you already did a thesis, and your PhD will go in this direction.
Okay. So I mean, it's not usually like sort of like combination of masters and PhDs. Some of the programs usually in Europe, some of them might offer this kind of thing. So you can possibly look into another different country, which where the masters and PhD is like a combination. Like I know in the UK they did that, but
Yeah,
again,
no, in France it's really like master's and then PhD.
yeah. Okay. So good to know. Now I will go also into another question here. What are the areas being offered for PhD? So
You can do whatever you you can really no, seriously, you can really study in every field your PhD. However, one thing is that where you're studying your PhD, your undergrad and your masters must have been in the same direction. Like you cannot study like marketing and communication until your masters and then choose to do a PhD in engineering. That's not working. You need to follow the path that you chose for your previous studies and choose your PhD field in the same thing that you already studied.
yeah. And one question actually was about, you mentioned something to do with STEM. And I know STEM is like quote unquote the hot subject area nowadays. Everybody wants to go into tech, mathematics, science, and all these kind of things. So does it mean that maybe the French government also capitalizes on this? If someone is willing to do a STEM field, then they could possibly easily get into a university. Is that the case?
Yes, so basically, in 2019, Macron, our current president, re-elected, and Kenyatta met in Kenya, and then they met again in France, I think, yeah. And they identified the priority areas for the university cooperation and research, and they identified the STEM areas. So the cooperation between France and Kenya in the university and research field is about STEM.
Okay.
So of course, if you do your master's or your PhD in this field, we'll be more keen maybe to give scholarships, or because that's key prioritized like fields for us also to support in the bigger picture. Yeah.
Okay. Great to know. Great to know. Another question that I got again is there a summer school in France? Can I go to summer school in France? I believe this is not anything related to a PhD, but maybe.
No, it's not related, but it exists. Yeah. You can go to the Campus France website. And you can see like the different courses, many private, mostly private schools, organize summer schools in basically every field you can check.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, and this summer school would be maybe studying certain sort of subject, or maybe like the language, the French language.
So you can. Okay. So in France, there are many schools where you can study French. There's actually a link I can send you, which lists all the schools, the institutes who teach French to foreign students, and this you can go all over the year. The thing is that it's a bit expensive because you pay for each week, and then you pass some level A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2.
Right.
But then you can be fluent because you're in France, etc. And you don't have to go for a long term, but you won't graduate from a bachelor or a master's. It's just going there and study French. Summer schools, it's 1 or 2 months.
Okay.
Same, it's not like you don't graduate from a master's or a bachelor or anything like that.
Yeah.
You just study a course for 1 or 2 months. Usually it's July or August.
Yeah.
It's in this area, in this time of year.
Yeah.
And you can study basically. There's summer schools in every field. Huh?
Yes. Okay. Good to know. So actually, the next question was about the cooperation about sports, because I know that the Kenyan government and the French government always has this type of cooperations about sports. Does it go through you, or that is something that is completely
No? So this is I can tell that there's cooperation in the sports area. However, it's not at all my job to take care about this cooperation. So I don't know exactly. I could not be able to speak so much about it.
Yeah.
But I'll be happy to give the contact of my colleagues who work on this specific area. Yeah.
Absolutely. And guys, if you can check on the comment section, the European Union in Kenya definitely shared in some links that would be very, very helpful for you to be able to go ahead and check out what is on offer. And we also shared the email right there, which is nairobi@campusfrance.org. Please, guys, be very, 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 keen to go ahead and check out those links. And also, please email nairobi@campusfrance.org. Don't just say hi. Introduce yourself.
Yes, please don't just say hi.
Yeah, please don't give Clara so much work to wonder. So what do you want?
I have so many messages just saying hello, and what am I supposed to say? Hello.
So please be very, very respectful. Introduce yourself and let her know what exactly do you want to know. Where are you at? Do you want to have go and meet her at Alliance Française, maybe for a certain consultation for your research. Be very concrete, honestly, so that you can get the help that you need. And now we are going to go to the questions that I can see on my comment section here. And one of them was like, I would love to know about undergraduate courses for my constituency. So I do believe that this is in Kenya, obviously. So any undergraduate courses that might be available for someone who just maybe finished their what we call KCSE in Kenya. So yeah.
So I think you just sent the catalog.
Yes.
I think the link is in the comments as well for the catalog listing all the programs. So this link is for the programs taught in French.
Okay.
There's also a link for programs taught in English.
Okay.
If you're interested, because PhD, I said like you can do your thesis in English, etc. If the doctoral school agrees on that.
Yes.
For masters and undergraduates, there are programs taught in English. I think there's more than 1,600 programs taught in English in France. Okay. Most of them, though, are for masters, but you can find some for bachelors as well.
Okay.
So this is there's a specific platform where you can find, like you just narrow down your research, saying like which type of field of study you want to study, etc. And then you can see the programs taught in English that you can study. And on the other one, you can see the programs taught in French.
Okay. And just a quick question. I don't know, France is known for what course, for undergraduate? Mostly people go there to study.
You can study anything. Like the quality of the higher education system is very good. So honestly, I won't tell like study engineering and not journalism, because it's everything. Like you have quality education anyway. It's very good teaching. So of course we are top notch in mathematics, and the best masters in the world in mathematics are French. Same for finances. These are the really big expertise in France. But we also have big expertise in social sciences, politics, international relations. So I would not say there's one domain you have to study there. No.
Okay. Good to know. So the next question, WhatsApp number for the Campus France Kenya, guys, please, you can email. No.
So we don't have a WhatsApp number. It's my personal number. So what you do is that if you want us to meet or anything, you just write me an email. I always respond.
Okay.
And then if we need to call each other, of course, I'll give you my WhatsApp. But for now, I'll just give my email.
Yes, absolutely, guys. And please be very respectful. Like we say, don't just say hi. So next question here is scholarship opportunities in PhD. I think we answered that. Humanities PhD scholarship opportunities. And I think you mentioned something to do with this social sciences and humanities.
Yeah. So you don't have to have a scholarship to study PhD. Of course, you can.
Yeah.
So then you can check for us at the embassy, we give scholarship mainly to STEM areas. So for social sciences, you can check the opportunities directly with the doctoral schools, or with the Kenyan government or the European funding projects.
Right. Okay. And then the next question is definitely about scholarships for postgraduates. I think we have mentioned that.
Postgraduate is the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think one thing that maybe we can mention quite in passing is about the postdoc program. So, someone who's finished their PhD in Kenya, perhaps they're looking to do a postdoc fellowship, and how they can go about that. I do believe that maybe you guys also support.
So yeah, we just had one example of a Kenyan researcher who just got a postdoc contract. So basically, it's like doctoral contracts, but for postdoctoral researcher. So this you can find it on the websites of the doctoral schools of the universities and apply. So it exists. We have few examples, but I mean, Kenyan students are very, very good. Like, we're very surprised. Sometimes there's very, very difficult scholarship, like international scholarships, and Kenyan students go and apply and are selected. So,
wow.
I mean, everyone has this chance, basically. Like, we're very happy about that. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. So I think, the next question is definitely something that I also wanted to ask you. So someone is asking that they have been looking for LLM programs in Europe. So I do believe that this is about law. Is it too late to apply for September 2022 or January 2023 intake, considering that I also want to apply for a study scholarship? So this is one of the questions about, this application period and when to begin your studies and everything. Yeah.
So intake in France is mostly in September, October. So it's a bit rare to start one study in January. So for September 2022, applications are almost done. And scholarship applications are all over because now there's the selection process and everything. So if you're very interested, I would recommend you to apply for September 2023.
Okay.
For this year, unfortunately, it's a bit too late.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good question for the timeline for application. So as I said, intakes September, October.
Okay.
And in France, we take it very before. So applications for undergrad are from October to December for the next September.
Okay.
So you really have to think about it before, from October to December for the intake in the next September. For master students, it can go later until April.
Okay.
For the intake in September as well.
Yeah.
Right now, May is the deadlines basically.
Okay.
And for PhD, it's more specific because it's not exactly the same type of timeline, university timeline. So you can start later, you can begin early. It really depends on the doctoral school. So this can be more flexible. But for bachelor and masters, intakes in September.
Okay.
With application from October.
Right. And for PhD, you mentioned that it can be quite any time, depending on when the lecturer says that, hey, this.
Yeah. It can be a bit later, like November. It's a different, since it's a more autonomous, you're working on yourself, with the help of your supervisor and the doctoral school, but it's a more autonomous work. You're not in class all the time.
Yeah.
There's not exams and stuff like that. So it's more flexible in this way. And each doctoral school, as I said, has their own way of doing things. Yeah. So it depends on the doctoral schools.
Wow. All right. So I think we've covered quite a lot of the bases here. And I think if you missed the discussion, like you mentioned here on the comment section, please rewatch and also feel free to also subscribe to the EU in Kenya YouTube. we're going to definitely be having lots of these discussions. But already, I think we've covered the whole basis of funding your PhD in France. So I think it's about time that you guys shoot your shot. And Clara, I just want to ask you one question. What would you tell a candidate or a potential candidate who is looking to go and study in France? They are thinking about it quite a long time, thinking that maybe they're not good enough, maybe this opportunity is quite far-fetched. Can you tell?
No. What I can tell is that trust yourself, because really the Kenyan education system is very good. So you have all your chances to get a scholarship or a doctoral contract, really, even if it's not thousands of students going, but I think it's much more because they don't know that they can do it rather than they can't do it. So really go for it. We're very welcoming. And I mean, you'll discover a country, you'll discover a continent, a new culture, and that's very interesting. And then you can come back to Kenya and have a PhD, French PhD. So that's quite cool, and be fluent as well, because even the Kenyan students who go there studying English, which is the majority of the Kenyan students, when they come back, they're fluent, even if they didn't learn in French, sorry. So.
Okay, good to know. So, and then one other last question perhaps is, what is the life like in France in general, if someone is looking to go into France and study? Because again, as much as you're going to the country, you're also going to be interacting with the culture, with the language, with the local people, the weather, which is a big thing. I know I speak about the weather a lot, but I mean, in general.
Yeah. No, of course. So there are cities like the south of France, cities in the south of France where there are more Kenyan students. So maybe it's easier for the integration and the weather is better, etc.
Yeah.
But I mean, I won't lie, doing a PhD in France is difficult. You have a lot of work.
Okay.
Quite some pressure because you have to finish in 3 and 4 years.
Yes.
So this is not going on vacation to France, basically. It's a lot of work. I won't lie on this. But if you're motivated and if you have a good supervisor who you have a good relation with him, it's good. And again, we're still here, in any issue or anything, it's really my job to make sure even the Kenyan students, all of them are very happy in France and everything is going on well there.
Yeah.
So but the life in France, I mean, you'll see for yourself. You go to the bakery, you have your breakfast there, and then you can walk around, you can take the transportation, and you can visit a lot of museums, a lot of beautiful landscapes. You can go everywhere basically for a weekend. So yeah.
Good to know, guys. I think this is quite informative, and if you're looking to study, in France, you have all the information, and Campus France is very much available for you. So if yours is the social media, you like to use Facebook, maybe please go ahead and like the Campus France Facebook page, and follow through the notifications that they actually post quite a lot of information right there. Please send your email to nairobi@campusfrance.org. We've sent in the links that you can check for different projects, whether that is a PhD, a postdoc, whether that's something that is taught in French, institutes teaching in French, institutes teaching in English as well. Please have a look at all this information that is available to you and ask the right questions, and feel free to shoot your shot because you have nothing to lose, honestly. So I think this is a very good place to leave this discussion. And Clara, I don't know what's your parting shot as we close this discussion, perhaps.
Just don't hesitate to contact us, to come visit us at Alliance Française. Follow us also on the social media because we post a lot of opportunities of scholarship, of programs, summer schools, etc. And also what's life in France for Kenyan students. So don't forget to follow us as well, and don't hesitate to write to us if you have any questions.
Absolutely. And guys, please feel free to also follow the European Union in Kenya for more updates for different member states and all the information to study in any one of these member states. We are going to definitely work very, very hard to give you all this information, and you can listen in to a live discussion, whether on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter as well, and you can find quite a lot of information even on Twitter. So depending on the social media of choice, please do your due diligence, shoot your shot, like I always like saying, shoot your shot, whether whatever the program is, you definitely can make it happen. So if you're listening to this much later, please feel free to also leave your comment right there. We'll definitely be on the lookout to answer you as much as we can. And also, share this video, whether that's on Facebook, on YouTube. I cannot re-emphasize about this because this is the opportunity for you.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. So without further ado, have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're listening us from. And thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning. I do hope that this discussion was quite helpful to you. My name is Nduta Wambura. I'm not very new to the European Union in Kenya, pages. So you will definitely find me, and you can also send me a quick message in case you have something that you want clarified or any questions. So thank you so much and have a good one.
Bye-bye. Thank you.